So Imal, again, like I was telling the people tuning in, I've been hearing so much about ChatGPT, like all over social media, and I started seeing you post a lot about ChatGPT yourself, which is, I literally put a reminder on my phone, contact Imal like tomorrow or something to get him on the podcast, and you messaged me before that, so I'm so glad you did. So
Yeah.
Imal, getting right into it, what just at a high level, like what is ChatGPT?
Okay, so they call it I think they call it a large language model, essentially. So you can just think of it as a chatbot that is incredibly smart. You probably know a little bit about artificial intelligence. People have been talking about it for well over a decade now. And up until recently, relatively recently, a lot of the promise that artificial intelligence has had, I think, has been very underwhelming. And this is the first time. And so my expectations of what artificial intelligence is going to be able to do for me as a business analyst and for the rest of my life my expectations were quite low now, because I've seen so many things that have claimed to be intelligent, but they've fallen far short of my expectations. And so when I went into working with ChatGPT for the first time, it just completely blew me away. And I realized, it took me a few days to realize, it's so big and it's so complex and it's so new that it took me a couple of days for it to actually really sink in. And I quite frankly don't think it really has fully sunk in yet. But I'm
Yeah.
at the stage where I've learned a couple of lessons, and I'm happy to share that stuff with you. But it's essentially, you think of it as a very smart chatbot, and you can basically ask it whatever you want, and it'll go and do some crunching for you and come back with a response. Essentially, that's the way most people should think about it.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I've seen some really amazing things on social media that Chat GPT, in terms of people asking it certain things. So just a heads up to everyone, we will be going over. So Imal, you workshopped 4 scenarios. We're going to be going over that, and also you're going to be sharing your short term as well as medium to long term predictions. But right before that, again, just at very high level, Imal, for those watching who are business analysts. I mean, why should BAs specifically care about ChatGPT?
I'll give you a short answer and a bit of a longer one. Short answer is that if you don't, you can't afford not to care about it. So based on what I've seen right now, it has the ability to so significantly increase your output that I think that analysts shouldn't ignore this thing, right? There's a lot of hype in our industry, and the idea, you know as well as anybody else, Dean, being an IT recruiter and being in the IT space, that there's so much hype in the IT industry that sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard to be able to tell what's just marketing hype that's designed to sell somebody's product versus what's real. And I've become very well tuned to making those types of distinctions, like over the last 15 to 20 years of my career. And I'll tell you that this isn't hype. I think that business analysts who are choosing to ignore this are doing themselves a major disservice. So, that's really the best way I can describe it. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about specific use cases for business analysts a little bit later on.